Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of our interviews for the Women in Estate Agency Facebook group. I'm delighted today to have as our guest Jane Gardner of JP Gardner Associates. So welcome, Jane. Great to meet you.
Hello, Claire. Welcome to you as well. So, and Liana, who I know very well, and it's great to see you both.
Hi, Jane. So lovely to have you. I have been excited to chat to you. We do know each other, and I think you're brilliant. And I'm looking forward to chatting to you here today. Tell us, Jane, a little bit about your background.
Gosh, well, I'm quite old, so it might take a while. I started in an estate agency in 1987. After being in marketing as a brand manager for 6 years for a big fast-moving consumer goods company. Then complete change, gave up my lovely company car and my big salary and became a sales negotiator for Connells in Watford. I think my salary at the time was £4,000 a year, so I was doing really well on that. I think I had a Nova, a Vauxhall Nova, and they used to pay us £40 a sale. I think now, I'll tell you another stat as well, because I remember I won the 1988 Connell Salesperson of the Year.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I won it by completing on 187 sales in a year. Can you imagine now how much money you would earn if you completed on 187? I was only getting paid £40 a sale.
You made £7,000.
I mean, you'd get that on one sale now, wouldn't you? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was before the double Marist ended, and it was just a booming market. Everybody was buying, and property was cheap, and mortgages were to a penny, and you can just get on the property ladder. So yeah, that was like a fabulous year, 1988.
And then the market crashed.
Yes, I know it did. I had lots of fights in the office when the double Marist stopped. So I remember that August, I think it was. Yeah, so I went on there. Met my ex-husband, who was also a estate agent, and rushed up. I was a branch manager then of 4 branches in Hertfordshire.
Wow.
And he decided to start our own agency. So he started an estate agency in Watford called Main Estates. That was great. But at the time, we also decided to open a restaurant, like you do on a whim. I think we couldn't, on a Saturday night, we couldn't find somewhere to eat. So we thought, what should we do? Open a restaurant. So we opened a pasta restaurant in Watford, which then went absolutely ballistic and took off because there wasn't one really. You had Pizza Hut. I think
that's brilliant.
Sort of but nobody did pasta back then. So I opened the pasta bowl, it was called, and my ex-husband and I aren't together now, but we're very good friends. We've got 2 children together, and he has I think it's 12 restaurants now. So he's got a lot of pasta restaurants, but he's got steak restaurants, and has just opened a poutine restaurant, and my son works with him and does digital marketing. Now, my son because he used to be my videographer when we used to do London Resi, so he used to come down to you guys.
That's brilliant.
Keep it in the family. So yes, we got divorced. I went back into London estate agents for Park Heath in West Hampstead as a lettings director. Which was my swap over really from sales to lettings. I'd always been sales, and then as lettings started to grow and our own agency, I started to learn. We didn't have Arla then, back in the day. That wasn't around then, so it was just still basic lettings. No short hold tenancies or anything. Well, they were just coming in, but nobody really bothered. So yeah, then I went to Park Heath and decided to open a franchise of Park Heath with my business partner, Alex Saul, which we opened as Park Heath in Rickmansworth, Chorleywood, Watford. We then rebranded as Saul and Gardner, which was our agency that we had until 2014. When we sold to Countrywide. Well, we sold the lettings business to Countrywide, and Alex still runs Saul and Gardner Sales. So yeah, that's the sort of property journey, I guess.
What a history, Jane. I don't think I've heard it to that extent. Wow.
it's a long career of property going all around.
That's
but
incredible.
you know, it's a passionate business, isn't it, ladies? You know, once you're in it, you're in it. You can't. I always used to say to people when I had new staff coming on board, you're going to either love it or you're going to hate it, and there's no real fine line. You don't just do a job in a estate agency just for a job, really. You have to do it because it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of work, you've got to learn a lot, nothing's ever the same, you're not going to the same job every day and doing the same thing, every day is different.
But I would argue that there are people like that in a estate agency, and those are the ones that are still earning. You know when they say, "Oh, estate agency salaries haven't gone up," well, that's because they've dumbed down the whole industry so that on my high street we've got 10 agents. We don't need 10 agents. We need probably half that, but we need better ones.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, once we get Roper, I mean, that's going to make a huge difference. Isn't it?
Indeed.
I mean,
well, this is, Liana's passionate. Well, as I'm sure.
Well, it's one of the pieces of the puzzle for raising the bar of in our industry, and you know, the fact that it drives me crazy. And I must do this in the conferences all the time, but it drives me crazy. I would count. Really, if you think about estate agents that could complete a TA6 or help with the property, or that really go out and get a vendor sale ready so that you're not wasting 20 weeks waiting for something, or just small things, and this all Roper and qualification will help in various ways with that.
It does, but it also, you know, I think it just separates the wheat from the chaff in a way. You know, people who are dedicated to their industry will want to learn. You know, I learn all the time. I mean, I actually learn now a lot, Mark, and so level 4, you know, that's great, and I love doing that, but I also have to learn on the digital side. But that's, you know, still a lot of compliance, and it changes all the time. I don't think I've ever done so much learning, and to be honest, I'm 57 and should be thinking about, oh, you know, putting my feet up in the evenings, not sitting and learning how to do a TikTok video or whatever, you know, but that's my life now. You know, I have to do it because my clients want me to do it, and get on it. So how did I got into digital? Basically, Saul & Gardner, we were a very small agency that put ourselves out there. We won a lot of awards, and a lot of it was down to the marketing of the business. You know, I brought some great staff through in the industry who are still in the industry. One, Reagan Bradley, who is operations director at Paramount in London. I
listened to her interview with Stephen Brown recently. She sounds fab. In fact, we should have her on, Claire.
Yeah, you should get her on here because she is fabulous. And, you know, she started with me after uni, and we kind of, we went through a lot of journeys together because we built a very big property management team, not in the traditional sense. I think we were very obsessed with how the Australians and the Americans do property management, as in you know, you're not just there to ring up a contractor and book a, you know, gas or sort out someone's plumbing if it's leaking or whatever. You're there to look after a client's portfolio and to portfolio manage and to, you know, assess those properties and make sure that they're at, you know, top-notch condition. So we built a team, and Reagan was very instrumental in that. So that getting agents to change over, which is one of the things I do on my consultancy now, is really look at how an agency is structured in, you know, particularly in lettings, and try to change it into the modern way of working, which is, you know, be there for your landlords, not just a service, but a real, you know, someone that they can't live with, everything about their property, and you can really manage it for them and look after it, because, you know, it's big business. Let's face it, investing in property is big business, because we have no housing. We need more houses, and there's so many people wanting to you know, rent or buy property, that we need these investors. You know, we need somebody that can push it and explain why people should be investing in our industry. So we did that, and at the same time we decided we wanted to learn how to build a website together. So Reagan and I built our first Saul & Gardner WordPress website, which was, we looked at all the on the shelf, you know, agencies out there, and we wanted it to be ours. We wanted it to reflect our agency and our people and everything about it, and we wanted to change it constantly, to be writing content and to really be giving lots of stuff out, and there wasn't that option out there. So we learned how to build a website. At the same time, I'd gone to an ALA meeting, and there was a talk on Facebook and this, Facebook, because we kind of had personal Facebook back then. So it's probably 2009. I think, people had their own Facebooks, but businesses didn't. There wasn't business pages. And this chap was talking about this, and we came back and we said, right, we're going to do that. I mean, it was quite an, I had some fellow directors at the time and had to, fight for that. I need to bring it's a fad, it's never going to catch on, But I was there at the beginning. We had a brilliant Facebook page. We videoed all of our properties with the staff. It wasn't just a walkthrough, it was the team every time an instruction came on, one of the negotiators would go and talk about that property, and then we'd do the walkthrough.
What year was this, Jane?
This was, so we started this in 2009.
Wow. And agents are just getting their head around video now. And I mean, like, agents, think about it. You started it in 2009 and we're 2021, and some agents are still not doing videos.
I would say most aren't, or if they call it a video and it's really a slideshow, which is not the same.
Photos, which drives. Yeah. In fact, I was speaking to a client the other day, and she said, I don't even watch them anymore, the videos, because I think, and she complimented me because she was in TV. She said, I finally got to watching yours, but I don't even click in because they're just photos.
It's not
anyway, that date when you started doing that just blew me away.
For us, we had a whole team of marketing people in our agency, and I don't think anybody, I don't think that they do. I mean, I'm an outsourced marketer, so I work with agencies and I become part of their team. I mean, that's the way I work. It's not a one size fits all. If I work with a client, I become their marketing person, and I'm on Zoom with them all the time, I'm on WhatsApp with them all the time, and I'm teaching them how to do it, and I'm telling them what content they need to give me. Such a mind-blowing change for us at the time. We were moving into a new premises. We had a lot more room. We were buying a premises for the agency we had in the upstairs. So yeah, we got the videographer in, our videographer, professional photographer, our own DEA and EPC, and so we had this whole team of people that were doing videos and doing great photography, nighttime photography, all of that, and the properties looked amazing, and it was just a fabulous,
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Win lots of awards for it. Kind of when I sold, that was it. People came to me and said, I want what you had there. And so that's kind of one of the hats I wear, apart from my obviously compliance hat as well. So, pushing for our property mark qualifications. So I've talked too much. This
no, not at all. No, you can never talk too much.
Not at all. Jen, there's so many women on this group that will benefit from just listening to your story, and I've seen your marketing. You're just, I'm a big fan, and I think you do it with passion, and it shows, because otherwise you wouldn't be as successful if you didn't.
Well, I am passionate. I think that comes across, doesn't it? I'm very passionate about our industry, and I love it that this type of thing that you're doing is amazing as well. So I know we can sing each other's praises here, but I want to say that to you, because you have been, you're both just like amazing women, and we need to have this type of platform where that's what the industry is all about, isn't it?
I think there's an awful lot of amazing women out there that, for whatever reason, don't feel comfortable or confident enough to just put themselves sort of their heads above the parapet. And interestingly, when we first started doing this, we used to fluff it all the time, didn't we, Leanna? And it wasn't perfect. But some of the women we're interviewing, they were just saying, "Oh, am I going to be okay?" And you know, they were really anxious. We think, what are they getting worried about? We're just having a chat, and yet I've got a date to go and interview with Chris Watkins, and I'm already getting anxious about that. So I think, oh,
oh no, he's lovely.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's this kind of anything that you're not doing on a regular basis, you are likely to get anxious about it. So
but we've faffed it up so much, Claire, and it's and now even on my videos, going back to video content is so important. If you're not doing video content, you're going to fall behind. You're not going to be able to communicate with your community, which anyway, and I am a big fan and I do it, and I hated it initially. It was so hard, and I wouldn't put anything if I made a mistake or said something in the wrong way, or sometimes, you know, I say. And now I've become a bit less hard on myself, but I'm pretty hard on myself. But yeah, it's so hard, isn't it?
But Liana, you know what? People want to see the human side, because
I think so.
That's what it's about. I mean, all of this glossy stuff, you know, and actually going back then, we did do a lot more of the corporate video. You know, it was like, you know, but actually, do you know what? You know, now it's all short form video. Everybody's on Instagram Reels. Everybody's on TikTok. Everyone watches. We're also used to watching people in their, you know, how they are and what they look like. And so you just got to get by it. You've got to get over yourself. And, you know, you do, Liana, your bloopers as well. And they're just amazing. Why do people want? You know, that's what people want. They want to laugh. They want to have fun. They want to see that you're, you know, you make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're human people, you know. So I think just be that, you know, that would be, I guess, because you said, what, you know, a tip for somebody. Just forget it, you know, just get over it, do it, and just move on. And I know where Chris Watkins, you know, is the passion on that. You know, why aren't you just getting on camera? You know, the guys don't mind, you know, they don't care if they, you know, their shirt buttons are popping or, you know, they're looking sweaty or whatever. We should just be the same. We're human too. Why do we have to be perfect?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
I know we all are.
I know we were talking about that earlier, but Claire, funnily enough, Claire said that the first thing after she had her operation, if you don't mind me sharing it, Claire, was going on camera and how she hated it. And then someone gave her a bit of advice and she told her, just get over yourself. So now Claire just, you know, I share that advice with everyone. Get over yourself. That's how people see you. And that's what
exactly. So
exactly. I mean, we all look like this. So.
I know. It's because I think a lot of us have got more used to it because of Zoom meetings. So we're seeing ourselves. Very few people like to look at themselves in the mirror all the time, which is effectively what we're doing. You know, if we're watching Zoom or video, but that is what people see. So I don't feel uncomfortable talking to somebody face to face. So why do I feel uncomfortable? Why did I feel uncomfortable? And now I just think, yeah, just get over yourself and just do it. But I also think that comes with age. Yeah. And I just, you know, I if I were in my 20s and had the kind of insecurities that you might have had when you were in your 20s, I think I would feel more self-conscious.
Yeah.
So, you know how we were talking about being perfect? Because of the technical issues, time is going to run out, so I'm going to send you both a new link. My cat is trying to destroy the door, and because it's half term, my kids are screaming, "Mama!" in the background. So just to go back to a bit of perfection, or people perceive a perfection. If this all dies, I'm going to send you a new link very quickly, okay?
Okay. No, that's fine. No, I know, you know, I think Simon Whale and I had a Zoom interview a few months ago, and we were talking about that. You know, estate agents, they're always the ones that are chatting. You know, you can tell, you know, whenever you go to the conferences and stuff and you're getting on the train, you can pick the estate agents out a mile off, and they're always the ones that are bolshy, chatty. You know, they all look the same pretty much. And then the minute you say be on camera, they go, I can't do that. And you just think, why? What happened? It's like, you know, but like you say, that's what people are talking to you, and we just have to get over the fact that now most things are done on camera, You know, before the pandemic, did we know about Zoom really? You know, you might have used Skype a bit, but gosh, every single person on the planet uses Zoom now. It's like
it's normal. This is what normal. This is the norm. And yeah, I agree. So Jane, before we end, I just wanted to ask you the question. So, have you faced any challenges as a woman in agency? I mean, you've seen it all. So.
Or in business generally, I would say.
Business generally. And what changes would you like to see made, actually, in our industry?
Oh, gosh, where do you begin? I mean, look, a lot is happening now. So we are seeing some changes coming to the forefront. But I think in our industry, there was always, certainly when I first went into lettings, so let's talk there. So when I first went into lettings, they were seen as the poor relation, definitely, to sales. You know, if you didn't make it in sales, they might push you into lettings. The first couple of years of that transition for me was quite difficult because I did feel like I was losing a little bit of my sort of street cred, you know, as a great lister on sales and being able to put all these massive deals together. And, you know, that, you know, when for us back in the day, and it's not so uncommon now, but, you know, hitting that first £1 million sale and getting your massive check come in, not when I was at Connors, obviously, because that would have been £40, but, you know, but that whole sort of buzz that you had, and then lettings, it felt like, oh, you know, that's just, you know, anybody can find a tenant, anyone can do that. It's not, there's no, but I probably spent my first couple of years in a big lettings role, as in when we opened our first agency in Rickmansworth, we were opposite a big Barratt site, 133 apartments being built. Buy to let was just starting. I happened to know the site manager, happened to get all of the business, ended up with about 80 lettings landlords, you know, that were new to buy to let, and had to learn darn quick. So I decided to become, Arla had just been formed, I decided to become the first Arla agent in our area, way before NFOP and Property Mark, in the old days when we had the old symbol. And I used to go to our Arla meetings and listen to Marvin Smith and feel like I just couldn't sleep because I was terrified. I was terrified I was doing everything wrong, and I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders because there was so much to learn, and it was like, Jesus, I've been putting these tenants in places and I haven't been doing this, I haven't been doing that, and that compliance really weighed heavily on me until it just one day, I can so clearly remember going to the Arla meeting and actually coming away and thinking, I do all of that. I do all of it. Yeah. Whoa, I'm perfect. You know, obviously not, because laws change all the time, but I did feel like it gave, you know, that gave me such confidence. But still in the industry with the sales team, you know, we had a very male heavy sales team back at that time, a very female heavy lettings team. And there was, you know, if they wanted to get a sale through, it was like you had to say the right price, you know, it felt like there was a bit of pressure to be dishonest in what you were predicting from a letting sale through, because the sale was like the big thing. And, you know, so there was that did change, you know, because we suddenly realized that the value of our business was actually in our portfolio of managed properties, which went on for years and years, and obviously that's regular income coming in, and it way outweighs, you know, a one-off deal.
That's what gives every property business its value, is the lettings book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the power kind of came back, you know, which was good. Back in you know, various days, yes, I did feel like, you know, I had to utilize back then, when I had, you know, looked a lot better than I do now, that I had to utilize that. Now, whether I felt like I had to or whether I wanted to, but it did kind of play a part a little bit in my career at some point. I mean, it certainly doesn't now, but you know, it was sort of needed to be the look. And I've come across a lot of agencies and worked with a lot of agencies where the look is important, having that,
it's really honest. That's really
working.
Funny you say that, Jane, because I'm sure there was a point where corporates were employing based a lot on the looks, and both men and women, right? So yeah, that's
we the look and the sound as well.
Yeah,
there are definitely still corporates that they want a certain look and they want a certain accent.
Oh, I know when I came from Malta, like literally, landed here and stopped on Shepherd's Bush roundabout. I'd never driven on the motorway and started crying and turned up at an office. And they all looked at me like, who the is this? So yeah, it was definitely, I wasn't the norm, let's put it this way.
No. And funnily enough, the women, the strong women that I've seen in the industry that have come through, it's more about their strength of character than it is about their look. But I think, there was definitely a tendency to, see the candidates and decide kind of, on the first look of what you were going to get. And, I definitely was probably part of that initial staging, because I looked quite nice when I was young, and it's like different, isn't it, when you're young and you're looking, that was played upon. But I don't, I didn't really mind it. I quite like looking glamorous and being, being in my heels, and I think I lived my life in 6-inch heels. The only, now I can't even put like 2-inch heels on, because I live my life in welly boots, and I work from home, and I walk my dog 3 times a day, and I don't have 6-inch heels on now, strangely enough. But I think, crikey, how did I do that? How did you walk around all those houses, even building sites? I remember walking around with a hard hat and a pair of bloody stilettos, and you're thinking, what? It's like, what?
I've forgotten that completely.
But then we all love Selling Sunset, obviously coming back in November. So those girls, again, you wanted to look like that, didn't you? So it's still there. There's still an element of wanting to look
high heels were always very good for the calf muscles. I used to have really good calf muscles.
Amazing. So that was a challenge. I was a single mum for a long time, where I was working, building a business, having to pick the kids up. My poor son, he used to have a little hiding place in a tree by the school. I mean, I'm admitting this on camera now. So gosh, I really hope that nobody at Nascot Wood School is listening to this, but because they wouldn't let him leave school until the parent was there to pick them up, and I was always running late, or there was always someone that walked in just as you were about to go land, so anyway, he used to climb a tree and wait.
That's the story of my life at the moment. I've just missed I've just missed the little gymnastics show, which was the end of, because obviously you have to ship them off to all sorts, because I got stuck with a surveyor, and that's pretty much it.
It's very, very difficult. And when it's your own business as well, most of, other than my 6 years, most of my business life has been having my own business, running my own business. And it is, it's not a job that you do 9 to 5. I mean, property isn't a job you do or it shouldn't ever be a job you do 9 to 5, really, because people buy houses and look at houses at very odd times. But I think you just have to make those sacrifices. My daughter worked for me from the age of 13. She knew, she was a very clever girl, and she knew all the software systems. She was great at IT. She was in our offices. She used to work on a Saturday. She was taking people out on viewings. She was not so much. He'd sit on his Xbox or whatever in the back room, but Rihanna loved it. She was on the phone. She used to chat to customers. When she went to uni, she went to UCL, and actually Park Heath, who was my original company that I got the franchise from, that was near her halls of residence, so she went and worked there, and she used to run that wasn't anything to do with me. That was their own branch. But yeah, so she did a estate agency for a long time. She's a doctor, so she's not an estate agent, but she from she was part. She was there, and
she's obviously got her mother's work ethic, then, hasn't she?
Yeah, well, both mum and dad. Dad's running all the restaurants.
Well, that's one thing that other women tell me. When you feel guilt, just know that you're passing on a really strong work ethic, and that's something which gives me. Addresses that mum guilt a little bit anyway. It gives that
you're always going to have mum guilt. You always have mum guilt. There's nothing you can do. But actually, both my kids, they're so proud of me, and they've always been there to support me. After I sold the business, I did like walk, and you were walking up and down your first one. Peter Knight had asked me to speak at Lettings Live, and I'd had a few drinks when I said yes, and then the reality dawned that I'm going to be talking for 45 minutes in front of an audience of 1,000 people that were my, people I'd admired and looked up to.
That gives me palpitations just thinking about it.
And then I had Paula Radcliffe taking the stage after me to talk about her Olympic triumphs, and I had practiced like Juliana walking up and down the stage. I was fine walking up and down. My whole lounge had all my speech up on all the walls on big post-it notes of practice. And then the minute they called my name up, my legs went jelly. I stood on the lectern. I couldn't move my legs. I think at the end of my talk, I actually punched the air not because I'd finished it, but because I actually realized I could move my legs and get off the stage. But, I had my kids there. I had all of my team, all of my friends in the industry. And, they were sitting right on the table at the front. And it was one of the greatest. No, sorry, but I'm not going to do that again because it was terrifying. But it was a great achievement. I felt like wow, and had all my lovely people there watching me. So you think, okay, the career is hard to put the career before the kids. Well, I don't think I ever put it before the kids, but sometimes you have to in a practical sense. So there's that, and I think the other. That we were talking about off camera was obviously the age. I fan out and go, this age situation that you get to at a certain age. When I first started going through the menopause, we were, I was heavily in the business. I hadn't sold my business then. I'd been in menopause, massively in menopause for 10 years now. So, but that first time, you're quite tough when you're a business person. You have to be tough because you are, that's you've got to be able to say no. You've got to be, make the right decisions for the business, and sometimes that's hard. Certainly where staffing's concerned, and and decision making. And then all of a sudden, if somebody said boo to me, I was in tears, like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, I'm going to go into like the boardroom, and we always have big arguments about what we should do, and the rest of it. And I'm thinking, I can't stop it. The minute that somebody says something negative to me, all I could feel were tears welling up, my throat would go, and I'm like, I've never been a crybaby. And all of a sudden I'm just crying at everything, and it was like awful. I felt like, how am I going to run a business where I just, if a landlord said, I don't want to go with you, I'm going to put it on with someone else, I probably would have burst into tears. And you're like, whoa, this is not good.
Might get in the business that way.
No.
That was horrible. And that was probably the worst. I have the physical issues now with the heat and the sweats and the your bones not being able to run, not being able to exercise because I can barely walk, and I'll fall over a lot, and I have a lot of issues that have been menopause related or been hormone related, and I can't wait for it to end. I'm hoping every year that I'm getting closer to the end of it, but that I think that initial, when I was in that first phase where you just don't know what's going on, and it's like, wow, why you know, I guess like when you first get pregnant, you know, and your hormones are all over the place and you're tearful and you want to, you know, and it's the same thing. Your hormones are all over the place and there's nothing you can do about it. They don't show on the outside. You look perfectly the same as you always did.
As we were saying before we started this recording, you know, and very different. You know, I would say my menopause, the symptoms I've had have been sort of kind of the ones you would expect, but I know of other women who, you know, have felt really depressed and sometimes suicidal. You know, it's proper depression. It's not just a bit down. You know,
No, it's
and they don't connect the two necessarily. And apparently, it's not uncommon to feel depressed. And you know, brain fog, and you know, all of these things. So I suppose, apart from the length of time, mine has been quite straightforward. Two older sisters, and I know I'm just tracking them, so I can see there's light at the end of the tunnel, and also somebody to share it with. And you know, I think we've all been quite similar, but
well, that's probably a really
and it will
good
come
point.
to us all.
That's a really good point, Claire, because before there was this group, especially when I had kids, I didn't have those female. I don't feel I had those, because having lost mum, I didn't find I could turn to people that had, to women that had done both and gone through it, and now I can, because there's various women on the group that I can now turn to, pick up the phone to and say, gosh, I'm suffering. What's this all about? And that's, I think that's so important. Jane, thank you for sharing that, because it's been a topic that we have been wanting to talk about, and I think, you know, sharing your journey, it really does just open the door for anybody that's suffering and doesn't know yet or hasn't recognized it, to just possibly pick up the phone, send an email and say,
I hope that people don't. I think a lot, you know, I probably am struggling because I'm very hormonal, but I hope that people don't go through it. But yes, you know, there is, you know, you just have to support each other. We do have to support each other, and that's why I'm happy to say, as I said to Claire, I'm bored of it. I'm really bored of sweating and not having makeup stay on my face and constantly having soaking wet hair and drips down my back. You know, I don't like that. So to talk about it is quite, not that I don't want to, or I don't want to share it. It's just that I could do without it in my life, but you know, it's there. And so, you know, anybody that has any issues and wants to talk, feel free. You know, I'm always here to talk, and as you probably know by now, I talk a lot. So
no, you've been an incredible guest, and I'm sure we'll have you on again. You are so knowledgeable.
You're amazing. You guys keep doing what you're doing, and I'll see you all soon.
You go to EA Masters next week?
Yep, I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. Bye.
Yeah, take care.
Bye, Jane. Bye.